Hello, good morning. You've tuned into CNBC TV18. You're watching Power Breakfast with me, Vinny Motiwala. Thank you so much, as always, for tuning in. Let's talk about what's happening in the Asian markets this morning. US was a bit muted in terms of the trading session. We had the economic data that came in, so nothing exciting happened. That futures of the US market also indicating a bit of a red on the screen. Asian markets, we're seeing Taiwan index that's holding on to gains of 0.6%. Hang Seng, that's holding on to gains, a very slight bit of a positive bias, 0.09% gain that's coming over there. Now, when you look at the Australian index, on the other hand, that's opened up on the negative side. So Australian index is down almost 0.3% in the trading session as of now. Shanghai, bit of a red was there on the screen, and then now it's moved to the green. So we'll watch out for that as well. A lot of investors are watching out the Japanese trade data as well. So we'll keep an eye out on a Nikkei in the trading session. That was very flat as well. We had topics that saw a decline of around 0.3%. South Korean index also is something that we're keeping an eye out on in terms of the Kospi. So bit of a mixed start is what's coming for the Asian markets. Now let's pull up what the Nifty implied open, the Gift Nifty is indicating for our Indian markets. Nifty implied open is indicating a very muted start today for the Indian markets. A 14-point decline is what we're keeping an eye out on. Do not forget, last couple of days, we've seen that the Nifty has actually closed in the red. So that is what we'll keep an eye out on. Now today, whether we see the recovery coming back or whether we're going to continue to see the bit of a muted day for the Nifty is something we'll watch out for. As of now, the indication is a muted start, 14-point decline for the Indian markets. But let's move on and talk about how these overnight cues are going to be impacting our Indian market. We have a team of research joining us to set you up for trade, tell you which are the important stocks to watch out for in the trading session as well. First up, let's go across to Gaurav, who's here to tell us the important market cues for today. Good morning, Gaurav.
Well, yes. When we look at Nifty, yesterday we saw Nifty actually decline almost 0.6%, and at the same time it breached that 25,900 mark. Now, what is important to watch out for, the next support level comes at around 25,750, and at the same time for Nifty to sustain and keep the bullish momentum, it has to breach that 26,000 mark. That is also a psychological support for Nifty. Other than that, yesterday was also casualty for all the indices. Almost all the indices actually ended up in red. In fact, the biggest loser was Nifty Realty. It declined almost by 1.3%. So let's see if there is any chance of revival in this index. Key thing to watch out is that first is that US crude now that slipped below $56 per barrel, and this is actually the lowest level if we have seen since the early 2021. And if you look at the YTD losses, they are also at around 22%. So that is very important. And on the back of that, we will watch out for OMCs as well as the paint stocks. Other than that, let's also not forget that yesterday was a day when rupee actually breached that 91 rupee mark, and that is something that we will also be watching out for. Is there any downside again for rupee in today's trading session as well? Remember, experts believe that FPI selling is a key reason, so let's see if there is any revival in the near term. Apart from that, if you look at stock specific names, some of the names to highlight is that first is Sanman Capital. Now, it is not a direct news for Sanman Capital, but IHFL, which is India Bulls Housing Finance, it is going through a court proceeding. Last time we saw there was a proceeding and that impacted the stock of Sanman Capital wherever. In fact, it was not actually related to the stock. So that is something that we should be watching out for. Indigo is also on our radar because Parliamentary Standing Committee is going to have a meeting with Indigo and DGCA today because of the chaos that happened in Indigo flights. Lastly, if you look at some of the other names, Axis Bank, Policy Bazaar, Eternal, all these stocks are on our radar today because yesterday we saw a sharp fall in these stocks. And lastly, from the IPO market, let's not forget Park Medi World. This company will get listed, and Nephrocare Health. Now, this company will also get listed in the market today.
Okay, Gaurav, thank you so much for that. We'll keep an eye out on all those stocks today, even those IPO listings. Thanks so much for that. But let's move on and talk about more stocks that we're keeping an eye out on the back of news flow. Upasna, over to you. Good morning.
Good morning, Vinny. First up, let me start with Indian Overseas Bank. Now, government to sell nearly 2% equity via OFS, and the floor price is set around 34 rupees per share. Shriram Finance also in focus as board meeting is scheduled on 19th of December to consider fundraise. Next up is Keynes Technology announces a strategic partnership with Mitsui and AOI Electronics to strengthen India's semiconductor ecosystem is what the company has indicated. Glenmark Pharma also in focus as the company secures exclusive license and distribution agreement with Hano Pharma for a lung cancer drug in select markets for a total cumulative payment of nearly up to $1 billion. Eclairic Services also in focus as the buyback price has been increased from 4,500 to 4,800 per share. Ola Electric is the next one on our radar. Bhavesh Agrawal sells nearly 0.6% of the stake in the company via block deal, and the company says that the founder sold the stake to repay promoter level loan, which is nearly about 260 crores. Vari Renewable, also the next one on our radar. The company's unit has executed a PPA for a 300 megawatt ISTS connected solar power. NBCC also in focus on the back of order win. The company has received order worth 345 crore. Next up is Ahluwalia Contracts. Again, on the back of the order win, the company wins order worth 888 crore from Bihar State Tourism Development and Cooperation. And lastly, coming to Axonomal on the back of block deal, according to our sources, Imperial Chemical Industries is likely to sell about 9% stake in the company. Offer size is nearly about 1,300 crore and floor price near 3,150 per share. So all in all, we'll be watching out for all these stocks in today's trading session.
Okay, Upasana, thank you so much for that. But in our final update, what are the important cues in the world of F&O? Let's go across to Mangalam. Mangalam, good morning. You're wearing green. Should bulls expect some positive signs today?
I'm not sure, because yesterday I was wearing red and there was a big decline in the market, which is exactly why I wore everything green today, hoping for bulls to get some recovery. But tell you what, the Nifty Bank, the Midcap Index, all of them ended lower yesterday. The advanced decline ratio as well, firmly in favor of decliners. Nearly 2 stocks fell for every stock that rose yesterday. And now the Gift Nifty, that comes up for you. That too is indicating a slightly flattish start, but we're closer to support than we are to resistance. So that is something that will make the markets feel slightly better. Why is that? Because the 50-day moving average of the Nifty very close to the 25,800 mark. What we need to know whether the bull run continues or not is when the Nifty Bank crosses the 20-day moving average of 59,300. So those are two important levels. At the lower level, 50-day moving average for the Nifty, and at the upper level, 59,300 for the Nifty Bank. Cash market flows. The rupee is at a record low. Understandably, the FIs are selling. So 2,400 crore worth sale yesterday in cash markets, yesterday in index futures as well. They sold about 1,800 crores, unwound 2,600 longs and added about 6,300 shorts. So what this does is takes the FII exposure back to sub 10% on the long side. So from around 19% at the start of the series, it's constantly been coming down. Right now, FII long exposure stands just at 9%. Typically, when it's so one-sided, there is a bit of a reversal, especially close to such support levels. So that is something we'll be watching out for very, very closely. 26,000 call and 25,900 call, both of them active, telling you upwards of 25,950 to 26,000. There could be some supply, but at lower levels, 25,900 put writers are very active, telling you once again that the 50-day moving average of the Nifty of just under 25,800 is an important support.
Okay, Mangalam, thank you so much for that. We'll keep an eye out on those levels over there for the Nifty Bank Nifty as well.